Hi, I'm Jamie Schmale, Member of Parliament for Haliburton-Kawartha Lakes Brock, and we're here in the foyer just in front of the House of Commons, where, of course, laws get passed and debated in Canada. And we are in West Block. It is one of a number of buildings within the parliamentary precinct. And we're here because Centre Block, where you have the Peace Tower, where you had the Senate, and the House of Commons is now closed due to construction. They're renovating it for about 10 to 15 years. It's the first time it's undergone such major renovation since the fire destroyed and rebuilt the building. So it was due for that. And so they needed a place to put the House of Commons and the Senate. Now, the Senate was brought to the old train station by the Rideau Centre here in Ottawa, and that was renovated to accommodate them. And of course, West Block now, we have the courtyard, which used to be open to the environment, which is now built with a roof over top, and then the actual chamber built right in the middle. And we debate laws, we vote on laws, and we also have, which most people probably recognize, is question period. And that is actually a very small portion of the day. It's only about 45 minutes, and it is probably the one that most viewers would recognize because it is basically a lot of theater, for example. There is a lot of action going on, questions, answers, or questions and non-answers, depending on how you want to look at it. And we can see here behind. What do you? Oh.
Oh, fantastic. What's going on?
Come on in. Todd Doherty.
There's just something on the window.
Was there? Todd Doherty, ladies and gentlemen. Todd Doherty.
Jamie Schmale, everybody. The skinny lens?
For me, yes. I need it.
Wait. No, I do.
So Todd came to Lindsay. Actually, Todd and I were elected in the class of 2015. Mm-hmm. And
some of us work.
Yeah, I know. Todd needs to step up. So Todd's the critic for Fisheries and Oceans.
Yeah.
And from northern British Columbia.
Yeah, north central British Columbia, Prince George, Caribou Prince George, 84,000 square kilometers. And came to Lindsay to do a PTSD.
You did.
Event tonight. And Jamie, it actually spoke volumes to Jamie's influence in the region. I don't know how many people were there, almost 500, I think.
It was packed.
First responders and veterans, and doing everything we can to make sure that those that are suffering with mental health injuries from their service to their country and the community are getting the service that they deserve when they need it, whenever they need it, and wherever they need it. And through the passing of our bill C-211, we'll ensure that a national framework for post-traumatic stress disorder will be developed here in Canada, and it is the first piece of national legislation in our country, the first time a country has adopted a piece of legislation like that to combat PTSD. Canada's leading the way.
And it was your private member's bill.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was great.
But private members' bills, for those viewers, because we're doing a show about how Parliament works and how the process goes, private members' bills usually don't really stand a chance of passing in a lot of cases.
Prime Minister Harper actually told me how lucky we were because as a member of Parliament, every member of Parliament's name goes into a bucket. You'd think we would do this a little bit more. Well, you would think the process would have advanced over the years, but literally every member of Parliament, with the exception of Cabinet and the Prime Minister, your name goes into a bucket as a member of Parliament, and your name is drawn, and then there is a number that's associated with that. If you're lucky enough to have a 100 or less, your name drawn 100 or less, you'll get a chance to introduce a bill. Mm-hmm. And
it could be on anything.
On anything.
Every member has their chance if you're drawn.
That's right.
To whatever topic you want.
Right, but even harder is when we're opposition, mm-hmm. and trying to get a bill through the process as an opposition member is challenging, but we managed to do it. Post-traumatic stress disorder is it's not a partisan issue, and that's why it passed unanimously at all stages. But
I'm actually glad you're here because as we talk about how MPs do their job. Mm-hmm. You're from British Columbia. I'm probably a 3.5, 4 hour drive. So right. I have my riding's only about 10,000 square kilometers. Right. So as a person from British Columbia, mm-hmm. How is that on you? How do you manage that? Traveling 5-hour flight plus a 3-hour time difference, right. Plus your drive, everything. How do you manage that?
Well, I don't sleep here in Ottawa. No.
I was going to say you look tired today.
It's been a long week. You know what? It's Fridays, I'll give you an example of what my travel schedule will be like. Today is Friday, and we will work to the end of the day, which will be...
You're going to work to the end of the day.
2 o'clock.
Impressive.
Yeah, for once. Yeah, that's right. That'll be ended out on the cutting room floor
that's
again,
right.
Doherty. To the end of the day, then I'll board an aircraft, and I will fly back home to British Columbia. I'll get home to my house at about 1:30 in the morning on Saturday.
Is that, which time is that? Eastern time?
No,
or
that's
Pacific?
That's Pacific time, so it'll be about 4:30 Eastern time. And then I usually have meetings and events first thing in the morning on Saturday. If it's a sitting week and then another sitting week, I spend Saturdays out in the riding. Again, my riding is about 84,000 square kilometers, so it could be anywhere in the riding. And then I go home and I'm up at about 2 on Sunday morning, and I leave my house at about 3:30. I'm on the plane back at 5 a.m. and I get here about 7 or 8 in the evening to start the week over again. Yeah.
So your kids are older, so it's manageable on that front for the most part.
Yeah, you know what? I'm very blessed. My wife Kelly is she holds the fort for us, and she really has for all the years. I forgot how long I've been married, but for all the years that I've been married, because I was in aviation prior to this and was gone up to 280 days overseas previously. So I actually see my family more now than I did then. And so our youngest is 25, or will be 25, and we have 2 30-year-olds and a 28-year-old.
Good for you.
Crazy.
Good for you. But you manage it, you do it well.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, what's to complain? We have the best job in the world. We get to serve Canadians, and I get to hang out with great people like Jamie Schmale.
You're getting better.
Schmale.
You're getting better. See, I had to pay him to say that. So, but how do you manage your riding then? 84,000 square kilometers. How do you manage it?
So the last riding weeks where we had the 2 weeks in a row, I put on 3,800 kilometers in my truck. I spend a lot of time in my pickup truck. Bouncing from community to community. It's not uncommon for me to drive 5 or 6 hours to go to one meeting and then turn around and come back. We made a promise in the 2015 election that we would be present and visible, and so that's what we do. Most Canada days, we do all 4 communities. So we start really early in the morning and we go to one end of the riding, which would normally start in Vanderhoof. We deliver Timbits and what have you. And then we go to Prince George, and then we go to Quesnel, and we go to Williams Lake, or the other way around that way, and we try to hit points in between. It's usually about 1,000-kilometer day, but that's what we do.
So you're the critic for fisheries and oceans.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means.
So I'm the
Because we don't know what you do.
Right. I'm the shadow minister for Fisheries, Oceans, Canadian Coast Guard, but also Asia Pacific Gateway. So I look after the file in terms of Fisheries, Oceans, and Canadian Coast Guard, which is primarily our largest file, and look after everything with respect to fisheries policy, making sure that our friends across the way are doing everything they can to make sure that they're looking after protecting our waterways, but also making sure that we have fish for today and fish for tomorrow. And then in times such as the surf clam issue that we had, where we had the former fisheries minister was found guilty of ethics violations in terms of awarding a very lucrative surf clam quota to friends and family. It's our job to hold their feet to the fire when they're developing policy that are impacting the coastal communities, negatively impacting the coastal communities. But it's also our job to work collaboratively with them to ensure that the voices of Canadians in the coastal communities are heard.
So as the opposition, you would be the point person that we would go to. So obviously I'm Deputy for Natural Resources. So if I had a fisheries issue,
Right.
I would go to you for that information. You would be kind of the expert on Fisheries and Oceans Canada and the Coast Guard within the opposition caucus.
Absolutely, and you know, like the government's no pipeline bill, we would work collaboratively on that. Tanker moratorium, obviously. Anything to do with any regulation that would impact natural resource development, which is normally the Fisheries Act. You and I, or we would work collaboratively on that and see how that policy that's being developed, how that impacts Canadians.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie Schmale, have a great day.
Thank you, Todd Doherty. You're a good man.